That silhouette, that shadow, what's caused that and where is it in the world? Sir? Burj Khalifa first. Are you a geography major? Perfect. That tower was pivotal in my life a number of years ago, and I'm going to share that story with you this afternoon. Do you know 3 out of every 4 suicides globally are committed by men? 75% of suicides are male. What is it about us as men that causes us to have that disproportionate impact on the statistics? How are we wired differently, perhaps? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a guy that went through a phase in my life that I never thought I would experience. So that's obviously me. In 2008, I was in the top 1% of earners in the UK. I was earning a lot of money, an awful lot of money. I had a wife, I had 4 children, I was mid-40s, and do you know that the biggest killer on this planet is suicide of people under 45. Biggest killer of people under 45 is suicide, not illness, not physical illness. Life was going great for me in 2008, top 1% of earners. I felt I was a legend in my own lunchtime. I was really enjoying life. I had the money, I had influence, I was growing a business, 140 staff, and I was planning the future. I think this is great. I've had many, many years of success in business. But later in 2008, I was hit by a juggernaut, not a real one, life situation. I lost my home, I lost my job, I lost my wife, and I lost my kids, all within 2 months. We're all susceptible if the wrong circumstances happen. I didn't know what happened to me. I knew I felt like the world had imploded, the world that I'd spent years and years building, creating security, gone in 2 months. And so I went into a deep and dark depression. So the first thing I did, I went to the doctors because, I need drugs, prescription drugs, to get myself out of this. And I sat down in her surgery and she prescribed antidepressants and sleeping tablets because I wasn't sleeping. And she went through a questionnaire as well. And the questionnaire, question number 10 stuck out because she asked me, had I contemplated suicide? And I said with a resounding yes, because I wanted help. So she wrote something down. And then she said, well, I'm going to refer you to a counselling organisation. They'll get in touch with you. I thought, this is fantastic. I'm getting the medicine that I need, the counselling, someone to talk to. Within a couple of weeks, I'll be back where I was. Little did I know, I was so naive, that I was facing, and I didn't know at the time, I was facing several years of depression. I thought I'd be back on track, rebuilding my life within a fortnight, if I had the drugs and the therapy. I learnt a lesson, really. I was waiting for the counselling organisation to ring me. They didn't. So after a week of waiting, I rang them. Couldn't speak to someone. They didn't answer the phone. It just went to voicemail several times. And you know what? 17 years later, I'm still waiting for that call back from the counselling organisation. I got fed up waiting for that. So I found a private therapist. And in that first session, which was really helpful. Isn't it great when you are having a really difficult time to be able to open up and share with someone? A complete stranger was really helpful to me because I was feeling ashamed of being depressed. And at the end of that 1-hour session, the therapist said to me, Rob, one thing that strikes me is that you've made your life on just one thing, your money and your career. So he said it's a very unstable thing because it's like a one-legged stool. And I said to him, well, actually, money and career are 2 things, doctor. So it's a 2-legged stool, not a 1-legged stool. And he thought, well, comedian. But as you can see from the photo, a 2-legged stool really isn't that much more stable than a 1-legged stool. But you get my point. I was facing the unknown and something I'd never experienced before. Depression to me was like that cloud. It enveloped me, sometimes several times a day, and it seemed to have a life of its own. It came and went as it pleased. It's almost like it controlled me and how I felt, rather than me controlling it. And I'd never been in that position before, where there's an external factor that was affecting the way I felt, and I couldn't get out of it. I felt trapped. And as I've mentioned, I felt ashamed. I didn't open up to anyone how bad I was feeling. Not to my best friends, family, because I'm a man. I'm supposed to be the provider. That's how I've been brought up, and that's how I'm wired. But I was so wrong. I kept silent. I didn't open up to anyone. I didn't find someone to confide in. And that made it worse for me. I've got financial commitments. I've got 4 children. I needed to earn something. I'd lost my job. I went from £300,000 a year to nothing. That puts the frighteners in you. Because at the age of 45, 46, I had no clear path, no financial security, and I felt ashamed. I went for job interviews, didn't get any. I was applying for 200 jobs a week on average. Couple of job interviews, nothing. I was probably too expensive when they realised what my previous income was. So I decided to set up a micro business, a one-man band as a consultant. And I bumbled along for a couple of years, just about earning a living. I was surviving, I definitely wasn't thriving at all. Just enough to pay the bills. And then I got a job offer in Dubai. And I grabbed the chance. I thought, this is it. This is a fantastic way of starting with a blank sheet of paper, a blank canvas. No one knew me. Tax-free income. I could work hard. I don't mind working hard. So I hot-footed it over to Dubai, left all my problems behind me in the UK, or so I thought. But of course, problems tend to have a habit of going with you on the plane, don't they? You can't leave them behind. They travel with you. So I landed in Dubai, commission-only job, so nothing like jumping in at the deep end. But I was confident of my own abilities. It was something I'd done before in the industry. I felt confident. I felt buoyed up. What I'd underestimated was cutting myself off from friends, family, put myself in a very different culture. Never been to the Middle East before. Heard about Dubai, positively, but I'd never been there. I was alone in the desert. Well, not quite, if you know Dubai, it's on the edge of the desert. What I'd underestimated was the heat in the summer. It's sweltering. And it's only mad dogs and Englishmen that go out in the midday sun. Well, I used to, because I was door knocking, going up and down the Sheikh Zayed road, looking for business. That heat reminded me of Hades, of hell. I put myself in my own prison. It dawned on me after a few weeks, and I thought, but I can't. I've left. I need to be committed to this future life. I spent months of trying to make a good living and growing my one-man band business over in Dubai. It was hard. I did keep a death diary, and it sounds very macabre, but it helped a bit. Because in those sleepless nights where the anguish and the stress and the worry was percolating around my head in the early hours, it helped when I get up, write down my thoughts in my diary. And there's something about leaving the head and writing it down was helpful. I could get back to sleep, normally. But overall, I was still sinking in depression. And I was contemplating taking my own life. Even the love that I have for my children, which was my one anchor in life, of the pain I would cause my kids, even that wasn't enough. And I woke up one morning in my apartment and decided, I've had enough. I've had enough of pain. I've had enough of trying to push forward and not succeeding. I won out. So I got on the metro, I went to the Burj Khalifa, went up the lift, well, 2 lifts because it's a very tall building, tallest building in the world, I believe so, still, to the 125th floor. I went onto the viewing deck, looking out for the security guards because I didn't want to capture their gaze at all, because I didn't want them to know what I was planning to do. What I was planning to do was to find a fire exit on the 125th floor, find a way out, and drop 3,000 feet. And I worked out it would take me 13 seconds to hit the deck. And as soon as I did that, it would be over. The pain, the struggling, the angst, the anguish would be gone. I found a fire exit and I went to push the bar. And it didn't open. Someone had locked it. Maybe it's a caretaker or a janitor, hadn't done their job properly. And thank goodness they didn't do their job properly on that day, because I wouldn't be here this afternoon with you lovely people. Wouldn't have happened. I went back down the tower, went to my apartment, and instead of planning another visit to another building on another day, I rang my friend Alex in the UK. Well, I Skyped him, because we've been keeping in touch. I hadn't really told him how low I'd got, because that's not what friends do, right? You don't tell them the real truth, do you? So they can help you. What you do is you keep superficial, particularly if you're a bloke. And Alex could obviously tell that I was at a really low ebb. And he said, well, I'll come over. I can't make it over immediately, but I'll come over in a couple of weeks. I didn't tell him that I tried to take my life earlier on in that day, because I didn't want to spook him or scare him off. But he knew that things weren't good with me. That 2-week gap was brilliant because it gave me hope and something to look forward to. So I wasn't contemplating going to another building and repeating the same thing in those 2 weeks, because Alex was coming and I didn't want to let him down. I wanted to see a friend arrive at the terminal building. And when he arrived at Terminal 3 at Dubai Airport, gave him a big hug, and the first thing we did some tourist stuff together. And we had a laugh. I hadn't laughed, I can't remember the last time. We laughed together about all sorts of stuff. And they say laughter is a good therapy. It really is. It's a real tonic to the soul, I believe, laughter. We also talked about things that matter as well. He was only over for 4 days. We talked about the life, the universe, and everything, particularly poolside at the apartment block. You just got time to talk. One of the things I said to Alex, I said, I don't know, I'll be honest with you, Alex, which was the first time I'd been honest and made myself vulnerable with anyone in a couple of years. I don't know how I can achieve a better life, because I don't like what I've got now, and I'm rejecting it. But I don't know what good looks like. And he said, well, if you did know, what would it look like? So he was turning it around on me, making it possible. He was getting me to envisage very practically what my life could be like going forward. So I started to create a vision, something to go for, a purpose in life. What might that be? That was a brilliant response to someone like me at that time that was suicidal and depressed. Alex left after 4 days. I followed suit shortly after, went back to the UK, faced my demons, faced my debts, faced my problems, faced my family and my friends. And after a few months, I managed to raise some seed funding, some capital investment on my one-man band micro business that I'd started a couple of years before. I'd never had investment funding from anyone in life. I felt so buoyed up by that. 14 private investors, all chipped in a certain amount each, and off the business went. And that business grew successfully year after year. And in 2016, it was going so well, we wanted to open up a second office, an international office. So guess where I opened that office up? In Dubai. I had to. I was facing the ghosts of the past. I left Dubai as a broken, damaged individual. and I wanted a return as a winner. And I spent 4 years commuting every 6 weeks to Dubai from UK. I felt brilliant. Every time I'd step off that plane, get out of the terminal building, get into the car, the taxi, and go to the hotel, I felt great. And I had that for 4 years. That business kept on growing, and in 2021, I sold it. And from some of the sale proceeds, I then bought another business. I didn't want to start one, I wanted to buy an existing business that was flagging, and I did, and turned it around within a couple of years, and I sold that a couple of years ago. So now I've had 2 exits, and I'm back for a 3rd time in business. I should have retired twice. I haven't. Just shows you that you can be in the deepest, darkest place, but if you persevere and don't throw in the towel, there's some good things that can happen. You just need to open yourself up, as I did, and have an honest conversation with someone who cares. I tried to find painless ways to commit suicide. Spoiler alert, there isn't. For the person who commits suicide, and also for the people around them that love them and care for them, it's painful for them for the rest of their lives too. I'll leave you with a final thought, that if you're in a dark place and you're listening to this and you don't know what to do, just reach out and find an Alex. They can't solve your problems, but they can be a listening ear. They can just be there with you and help you through that process. However, if your life isn't a struggle right now and it's going quite well, keep a listening ear out for the people that you come across, the people that are within your network and radar, people that you know well. Maybe they're struggling and being challenged and they're on a downward slope. Keep an ear out for that. Maybe be an Alex to them. We can help each other. Because it's not suicide that kills, it's loneliness and isolation that kills. And you know what? If you're an Alex to someone, there is no better feeling than knowing that you've helped someone save their own life. And if you don't believe me, just ask my friend Alex. Thank you very much.